Who is the nicest celebrity you have met? Colin Firth. I saw him sitting in a cafe with his son. Extremely nice. I waited until they got up to leave before I went and asked if I could get an autograph for my mom, who's a huge fan. He asked me a few questions about her and wrote a quite nice autograph for her. He asked if I wanted one as well, and I told him that meeting him was more than enough. I had told him where she worked, and he went in the next day and made a point to stop and chat with her. Truly a class act. Literally love Colin Firth, and this warms my heart. I checked John Mulaney into a hotel room once. He wanted to pay for someone else's room, so he was at my desk for like 5 minutes while I set that up. He's a genuinely nice guy. I rang him up at Best Buy once and he wouldn't stop raving about the rewards card. Are you sure it was John Mulaney? Might have just been a tall child. I worked at a Barnes & Noble in high school. LL Cool J lived right next to it and would come in almost daily. He knew most of our names, really nice guy. He visited my best friend's nephew on the burn unit when nephew was 8. Nephew nearly died, had 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 80% of his body. LL Cool J visited and kept in touch for a while after. Not my style of music, at all, but I will always be a fan of the person he is. Damn. Lucky. Weird Al. I've met him twice, and both times when he looked me in the eyes it felt like he was hugging my soul. Met him at a film screening a few years ago. I've been a fan of his since I was 8, and he's legitimately an influence in my own music/comedy. I saw him when I sat down, which happened to be right in front of him. I heard him introduce himself to some older ladies who had sat next to him, just very genuine, like, "Hi, I'm Al." I turned around and said hello, said I had just seen a show at the Greek and said it was great, and said this is a great moment of my life, and he cracked a joke and said something like, "Well, I guess your life hasn't been that awesome," or something like that. We took a selfie and shook hands, and it was awesome. Met him in '07 after a show during his Straight Outta Linwood tour, and 12-year-old me was so starstruck, I couldn't stop looking at my hand after he shook it. Ian McKellen sat down on some empty theater steps with me and engaged in a whole conversation. It was awesome and I will never forget it. Brother-in-law is a pilot who gets occasional celebs on charter flights. His go-to answer is Henry Cavill's dog. Henry Cavill ranks close second, due to his willingness to let flight crew pet said dog. My son would be the most excited about meeting the dog. Jeff Goldblum. Met his wife and children as well. They were all kind and sweet. His real-life persona matches the on-screen one exactly. My buddy is a flight attendant and met him a few months ago. Basically gave the same review. Very kind, but definitely eccentric. Took the time for autographs and pictures. Having met Hugh Laurie in person, I can confidently state that he is one of the nicest and most humble celebrities out there. Not only is he completely happy to interact with his fans, but he also does so in a way that makes each and every one of them feel like they're a friend. He remembers names and personal details with amazing accuracy, and he makes each conversation seem like it's an extension of a treasured and ongoing dialogue. Add to that the fact that the man is outwardly hilarious, and you've got a recipe for a genuinely great guy. He was phenomenal in House Maryland. Love that guy. It's funny a guy who played a sarcastic jerk is actually really a nice guy. What a legend. Wanya Morris, one of the members of Boys II Men, sat down on a mall bench next to me. He didn't know I recognized him. We talked about basketball. Michael Jordan and the Bulls were one game away from a three-peat championship. When my mom finally came out of the lingerie store, I said to him, "Well, this is the end of the road," and I walked away. I wonder if he remembers that. That is the cutest story ever. I am laughing in embarrassment for you, but I also think it's the raddest thing you could have said to him. Well done, for real. I didn't actually meet him, but Tracy Morgan bought my younger sister an iPhone many years ago. Hers broke, and his GF, now wife, At the time lost her phone at the Super Bowl or something, so that's why he was at the same Verizon store. The Verizon employee said my sister's damage wasn't covered under insurance and my mom couldn't afford to buy her a new phone, and my sister I guess clearly got emotional because Tracy Morgan, who had been talking to my mom for a bit before while they were waiting. My mom and sister had no idea who he was until my dad came in and recognized him, bought the phone for her. My mom tried to say no, but he said to just pay it forward. What a dude. I have loved Tracy Morgan ever since Brian Fellows, so I am so happy to read that he is such a nice guy. In a meet and greet type interaction, it would be Jonathan Frakes. In a professional interaction, I worked a related industry. The Dalai Lama, all the monks I dealt with on that day would have to be the most polite people on the planet. In a hey I've just met a celebrity type way, Steve Irwin. John Barrowman, Captain Jack in Doctor Who and Torchwood, and also Malcolm Merlin in Arrow, is so cool and gives amazing hugs. Yes, nothing makes me happier than to know John Barrowman is an actual nice guy. I desperately want to be that guy's friend. He is totally the best. Lights up the entire room when he walks in. He gave me cookies once. Tom Hanks. I worked at Disneyland in the late 90s and I saw him giving a tour to a group of about 25 kids. He was leading the tour and the Disney tour guide was just tagging along, so I could tell he'd done this many times before. List of celebrities nobody hates: Keanu Reeves, Tom Hanks, Terry Crews, Robin Williams. Robin Williams, crying face, so engaging and generous with his time. He's one of the celebs I was here to post. Super normal, easygoing and smart. I was working the Cody's books booth at Computer World in SF, 1981 I think, and he was hanging with Timothy Leary, so I got to meet them both. Lenny Kravitz was one of the most humble people I've met. Incredibly down to earth, laid back and friendly. Prince Charles was also pretty friendly. Would look you directly in the eye during conversation and make you feel like there was no one else in the world but the two of you, despite being constantly surrounded by others. If you're a woman, Charles has been quoted as saying he has a policy of making sure he only looks into the eyes of women, for fear a paparazzo will capture him ogling some boobies. Stan Lee. He was my neighbor for a while, and he directly wrote me letters which I now have framed on my wall. Tom Brady wasn't great, Steven Tyler was really cool/chill, but Stan Lee was the best by far. My aunt met Steven Tyler and said he was super chill. Except she had no idea who he was, and he was just some guy who bought a lot of the musical instruments she was selling at a charity event. She posted a video of the two of them singing together on Facebook, and made a comment about how she was happy that this nice musician was making enough money to live off of. I had her go look up Aerosmith videos and she was shocked it was the same guy. Also came here to say that Steven Tyler is super nice. I met him on the street in New York as a kid and he talked to me for a long while about Aerosmith and then asked me to take his picture and did a bunch of goofy poses. Danny DeVito. I ended up at a hotel bar in Philly with this girl I was hanging out with and her friend. Turns out the cast of Always Sunny was filming the 10th-ish season and staying at the hotel and hanging out downstairs. So girl's friend flags down Danny as he's walking by and he ends up sitting with us for a solid 2 hours. Buys us a couple rounds. And tries to invite the girl up to his hotel room. A weird turn, but he also introduced us to Charlie Day, so I'm calling it a win. Tries to invite the girl up to his hotel room, shooters shoot. Hey, the guy's single now, so no harm in going for it. Scarlett Johansson back in 2011 at a Starbucks. Super sweet and really bubbly. Thought she would come across as a bitch or standoffish, partly because it was early in the morning, like 5:30 to 6 a.m. Not at all, she was so nice. Made her laugh after I told her I was a huge fan of one of her earliest films, Home Alone 3, which really is one of my favorite childhood movies. She just had this charming aura about her. I cooked for her when she was filming The Avengers in Cleveland. I didn't get to talk to her, but based on the creeping we did from the kitchen, she was bubbly and insisted on paying the check. My at the time chef also told me I was cooking her dinner, which resulted in extra creeping on our part as the plates left the kitchen. If she looked over, she would have seen 8 cooks in an open kitchen watching her take her first bite. I met her in 2008. She is also super short. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.